Hello everyone, how are you? Uh, Welcome you from Jorden Sky team, and this is our first video in terms of knowledge sharing and what is going in the current market. So today's topic is MSME, and we're going to discuss what is the way forward for MSME. Government has given a decent amount of push under MSME segment under Atmanirbhar package, and what we are going to learn today is the top 5 agenda for today's topic is story of MSME. What is the definition, which the revised definition of MSME? How to get registered under MSME? What are various schemes for MSME, and how to avail loan, which is the most important thing for MSME. So we're going to discuss these 5 main points. So without wasting any particular minute, let's get it started. So what is the story of an MSME? Why there is a need for MSME in India? So first of all, we need to understand what is the definition of an MSME. MSME stands for micro, small, and medium sector enterprises. And MSME is really important for an developing country like in India because you can't expect a few handful of an enterprise taking developing the entire country. That's where an MSME plays an important role in a growth of an economy. So it was based on a Gandhian model. So what does Gandhian model say? That if you want to develop masses, then it can't be developed by few handful of an enterprise. It should be developed by masses. If you want to develop goods in the masses, it has to be developed by people in the masses. So that's what the Gandhian model is. And during pre-liberalization period, MSME formally came into place, wherein states were given their individual roles in a department in terms of development of MSME. But unfortunately, policies were not really great, and as usual, MSME didn't pick up as it was required. But during post-liberalization era, which is 1991 to 2006, it was considered as a golden era for MSME. The growth was phenomenal. Everyone wanted to start an MSME. But the problem was there was a lot of structural reforms which was going on, taxation and everything. It was very difficult for MSME to get registered. So the benefits were still lacking, but the entrepreneurship vision, the growth was on the boost for an Indian economy. So that's the brief story about MSME. So what is the contribution of an MSME? Why government has given such a huge package to MSME? Government did realize it late, but nonetheless, MSMEs are really important, and it is considered as a backbone to an Indian economy. Just imagine, it's a population of 130 odd crore people, and there would be close to around 5,000 to 6,000 private limited companies. Can these 5,000 people, or can these 5,000 companies serve 1.3 crore people? No, it's not possible. That's where your MSME came into picture, wherein it provides your employment opportunities, and you will be shocked. 50% of India's export is done by MSME. It employs 50 million workers, almost 40% of total India's workforce, and it is the second largest employment generating machine post agriculture. So MSME produces more than 600 goods, contributing 8% of GDP. That's huge. That's where government realized that we need to act towards MSME, and we need to change the laws and regulations and put up more, just do it better in terms of economy. Now, next thing, why MSME? Why there is a need for an MSME? It creates a large scale employment. I'd like to give you an example. In India, we produces 1.2 million graduates every year, out of which 0.8 millions are engineers. It is really impossible for any country to provide employment to such a huge workspace or huge workforce, right? That's where MSME really come and help government in terms of generating an employment, in terms of building up an MSME sectors, building up an MSME for the organization. It helps to maintain economic stability. So MSME contributes around 50% of an export. So it helps in balance in payment, and it helps in maintaining of and foreign reserves as well. And 40% of MSME got registered under GST scheme, which helps which increased the revenue of the government by 11%. That was really a great boost. Encourage inclusive government. So you'll be shocked by the fact that 100 top billionaires own close to around 70 to 80% of wealth. That's where MSME come into play, and it helps to maintain a balance in terms of growth, and all the wealth are not being accumulated towards particular or handful of people. It plays really important role under Make in India policy. Prime Minister has given a good amount of push for Make in India policy, and to make it really successful, role of MSME is really important, because we have to develop in India. We have to develop the machinery goods in India, and that's where MSME really helps it. Now, what are the challenges which have been faced by MSMEs? See, we've understood the MSME plays a really important role. Government has came up and come up with a decent amount of schemes in terms of helping the MSME, but there are certain ground challenges which are being faced by MSME, and these are still lacking in terms of growth for an MSME. So there are few challenges which are ease of doing business. Though the recent ranking has improved, but still it takes a lot of time for MSME to get registered. Let's consider as an example, in India there are around 12 laws to be complied to get registered in Bombay, whereas in developed countries it are just 5 rules, 5 laws to be get registered. That's the gap. That's where the ease of doing business is missing for MSME, and that's where you see a lot of MSMEs are not registered. These are all unregistered MSMEs. So that is one of the biggest challenge which has been faced by MSME, which is ease of doing business. The second challenge is which is a lack of adequate and timely access to finance and capital. So if you see the trend of an MSME, they normally borrow it from their friends, from their family, from their relatives, or from an unsecured sources of money. And they would require a lot of money in terms of regular business operations, which is working capital, and also capital to acquire fixed assets or the new technologies. But banks, NBFCs are really reluctant to invest in MSME, because of the cash flows mismatches, because of lack of education by management team, or outdated technologies, non-compliances of various aspects. So that's where government and banks need to handhold these MSMEs, and provide the adequate and timely access to finance and capital. The bigger challenge also is the outdated technologies. Again, it's a link to finance and capital. That's where the MSME is not able to acquire new technologies. That's where the competitiveness of the MSME gets hampered, wherein the current MSMEs are using an outdated technology, and it gets really difficult for to improve it. Next is tax and compliances. So tax and compliances, again, there are various compliances to be followed in terms of GST has really created an issue for a small and medium sector enterprise, because there's too much of returns to be filed, and there are multiple ways or multiple returns to be filed, which is really creating an excessive cost to the organization. There's lack of infrastructure in the cities or in the villages, which is again hampering movement of goods and services, and there's a skilled manpower. So these are the few challenges. There are, apart from this, there are few challenges which are availability of raw material, then the managerial system, the training has not been provided to the MSME. In July 2020, due to the COVID, finally the government decided to amend the MSME definition. Earlier, the definition or it's been restricted to a few selected MSME. Now they have decided to widen the base because they realize the scope of MSME to the growth of an Indian economy. So, in old definition, if you can see, there are classification as manufacturing enterprises, and we used to have and service enterprises. But under the revised definition, we just have manufacturing and service under one bracket, and there were various other criterias to identify what falls under micro, small, and medium sector enterprise. So in earlier scenario, micro would have investment of around 25 lakhs, and there was no turnover, which has been added in the current definition as well. Whereas in the revised definition, the investment of less than 1 crore and turnover less than 5 crores is defined as a micro sector enterprise. So this is really helpful because investment of 25 lakhs is very low. Okay, if you see the current scenario, any machineries if you buy, 25 lakhs is something, it takes a single plant and machinery to build it, wherein the current of 1 crore is really a decent amount of amendment been done under MSME sector. So now what are the benefits of registration under MSME sector? So it helps in getting your government tenders. You can avail a loan without any collaterals. The government has came up with a scheme with the SIDBI nationalized bank, wherein they can provide a loan without any collaterals. And you get a subsidy on a patent registration, or up to 50% of subsidies have been provided for patent registrations. Then the overdraft facilities, you get interest reduction by almost 1%. Again, it depends from bank to bank, but approx you can get a waiver of 1%. Then you get a concession on electricity. Then your ISO certifications charges get reduced. Your offer various tax rebates have been offered, and there are certain. There's apart from this, the bigger benefits are in terms of capital subsidies. If you're buying up any fixed assets or if you're buying up any machineries, government can help you in terms of 15 to 20% of capital subsidy as well. What is the process of registration of an MSME? So the process is fairly simple, and you can fill up your form online or an offline. Individual can file MSME for more than one industry. So what do I mean by more than one industry is that if you have two particular industries, then you can file MSME for all these both industries. It's not restricted to particular industry. You have to fill up your personal details, bank account, Aadhaar card. There is no registration fee. It's completely free, and which is again a good thing. And you can upload your self-certified copies. You don't have to go to gazetting officers to upload any of these certificates, and you'll get MSME certificates via email or an online copy. So below are the few documents checklist for registration, which is your address proof. You have to get your purchase and sales bills, partnership deed, and copy of licenses and bills of machineries. Now these are the various MSME scheme which has been launched by the government. Apart from this, there are a handful of more schemes, but I try to identify what are the key schemes launched by the government. So Udyog Aadhaar Memorandum. So what is the Udyog Aadhaar Memorandum? So it is linked to your Aadhaar card, and you get various benefits when you link your Aadhaar card in terms of your training, in terms of your development, in terms of your bank loan rebates and everything. The next scheme is zero defects, zero effects. So this is for if you're exporting your goods, government, and if you're exporting your goods with a zero defects, government will really help you in terms of development of your technology, in terms of upgradation of your machineries and everything. Next is quality management standard and quality technology tools. So government will make sure that MSME gets the right kind of technology required for the business on a time-to-time basis, and upgradation of technology as well. So to maintain a quality across the organization, so it becomes competitive. Next is grievance monitoring scheme. What is grievance monitoring? So if you have any issues with the government or with any technology or any training purpose, so there is a grievance monitoring scheme wherein you can upload your grievance, and it can be replied on a quickly basis. Next is incubation. Incubation is a center wherein you've been provided a space as well as the cost of around 50 to 60% of your cost has been waived off in terms of capital and machineries. Next is credit linked subsidy scheme. So you've been provided subsidies with respect to your investment on your machineries and everything. And there's a woman entrepreneurship as well. So what are the various MSME loan scheme provided by the government? So one is your Mudra loan. You might have heard this somewhere being told by the banks as well as by the financial institutions. So Mudra loan is particularly for small business owners, and it's been further categorized into three categories. One is Shishu, wherein the loan amount up to 50,000 has been provided for any entrepreneurs who want to start up their business. Then there is comes a Kishore, wherein loan amount up to 5 lakhs has been provided for an just started up or an ongoing or scaling up business. And the last come is the Tarun, wherein the loan amount up to 10 lakhs. 10 lakhs has been provided for a business which is on a decent growth stage. Then there is a central government trust medium small sector enterprise loans, which is again backed by no collateral securities. Even if you don't have any machineries, even if you don't have any land to mortgage, you can avail this kind of a loan. Maximum loan amount is up to 2 crores. So without any security, you can get a loan amount for 2 crores to acquire any new machineries or for your working capital or to acquire a manpower. It also provides rehabilitation assistance with a credit cap to 1 crore. Suppose you are under a scenario wherein it's very difficult for you to revive, so government can provide you rehabilitation assistance up to 1 crore of an amount. Pradhan Mantri Employment Generation Program. So this scheme is for rural employment generation, wherein the government grants up to 15 to 30% of the project, wherein you have to invest just 5 to 10%, and balance has been provided by the term loan as a bank, which you have to pay regular interest and EMIs. Now the next question is how to apply for MSME loan. You have to visit udyogaadhar.com website. You have to fill your basic information, Aadhaar, name of entrepreneur, and you will get an OTP. Fill up the OTP, click on submit, and once you click on submit, pages will ask for confirmation. You have to click OK. You receive OTP, fill the OTP, and see the registration. So these are the documents which are required for MSME loan: your basic identity proof, residence, age proof, bank statement, partnership deed, company's financial statement. So these are the few banks which are offering MSME loan. I have captured this from a web portal, and I've also discussed this with few of the banks. Yeah, they are particularly offering this kind of an MSME loans. So that's it about the MSME. Let's understand the few FAQs. Is MSME registration voluntary or compulsory? It's totally voluntarily. There's no one. It's just you'll utilize more benefits if you get registered under MSME. It's credit score important for MSME. Credit score is really important for getting any kind of loan, and it helps you to get a better rates for your loan. What is validity of provisional registration certificate? So PRC certificate, the validity is 5 years. And also, what is the validity of MSME certificate? Again, the validity of MSME certificate is 5 years. Okay guys, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. I hope you like this video about MSME. So going forward, every week we are trying to make one video about the business concepts, about the economy, and in general. Thank you very much.